Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest FAQ Friday. This week we are going over crypto exchange, and I have Arash, I have Jeff, and I have John, aka Hot Sauce, with us today to answer all of your questions. I am so excited because we've had a lot of people in our general chat asking us questions, and it is time to answer everything. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty well. I've been waiting for this.
Since you actually spoke first, let's get started with you.
Okay, let's do it.
We are going to start with a question. How do I interact with Uniswap?
Well, we know that Uniswap and Sushi Swap, both of them are actually decentralized exchanges, meaning that you need to swap one token for another, or if you want to provide liquidity to the pool, you can do it there. And there is no third person really, like for example, a centralized exchange like Binance or Coinbase, for which you have to provide KYC. There is no KYC here. You can be anyone with a DeFi wallet interacting with the pool. So you would just type app.sushi.com to use Sushi, or for example, app.uniswap.org to actually use the Uniswap interface. You can swap tokens there, for example, Ethereum for any other tokens that the pool supports, or vice versa, swap the other one for Ethereum. Then you will have to just pay the gas and you're done. You can just literally swap any tokens for anything else or add liquidity.
Nice. Is there any difference with how you interact with Sushi Swap then?
They're quite the same. Maybe the interface is a little different. And let's say Uniswap is easier to interact with to me. I've had mostly some problems interacting with Sushi Swap myself, but Uniswap has always been great. I haven't had any problems with it. On Sushi Swap, there is a button that in the setting that says like Open EMV Gas Refiner, which I found many people having problems with. So if you go to the setting of Sushi Swap and turn it off, usually transactions will go through. But sometimes it's on and then your transaction won't go through. So I asked this actually in the Sushi Discord, and their moderators guided me to do this. And then since then, I'm actually helping people to do the same really. Otherwise, they're just literally the same. But if you want to click on swap on the Uniswap, there is a button directly on top of the page. You can just click on swap or pool or vote or charts. But on Sushi Swap, there is a legacy button. If you drag your mouse on it, your cursor on it, then you can definitely see the button swap or pool or add or migrate or whatever it is. That's the only difference. Otherwise, they're just quite the same. Two different platforms though.
So, how do you provide liquidity, or how do you remove liquidity on a decentralized exchange?
So liquidity is when you want to put two tokens inside the pool. For example, if you want to provide liquidity on Uniswap or SushiSwap, you have to add the token with Ethereum with the same amount dollar-wise. So you on Uniswap, there is a pool button. You click on it and it's easy. You just add to the pool. On SushiSwap, under the legacy button, there is the add button only. So you click on add and you just add the Ethereum and the other token you want to add liquidity to. But on SushiSwap, on the other hand, there is no remove button. I don't know why they have done this. In the past, like we had add and remove liquidity, but there is no remove button. So you will have to click on add instead. And on the address bar, you have to delete add manually and type remove. When you do that, then you can remove the liquidity. Or for example, SLP token. You give it back, you take those Ethereum and the other token back. But then you have to be careful about the risks of providing liquidity, which is actually called impermanent loss, which I explained actually in the first FAQ Friday, but I will do it again if you want.
Do you mind covering what impermanent loss is?
Impermanent loss is when you provide liquidity to the pool. Since you're adding two different tokens, each one of these tokens can outperform the other. For example, most of us actually have provided liquidity in Illuvium. When you provide ILV and Ethereum to the pool, there is a higher chance that Illuvium will go up in price and outperform Ethereum much faster because of the smaller market cap. So in this case, to let's say save the balance, then pool will start selling your Illuvium to buy Ethereum back. So the price will stay the same in the simplest terms, really. So you will lose Illuvium to Ethereum because people are buying it as well. You are providing liquidity to that pool, so people have access to that pool. So if the prices of both tokens go down, then people can buy your tokens cheaper. That's the risk. So you will be losing tokens most probably. But that's why when in terms of staking, you will be getting way more rewards than normal pools to cover for this loss.
So, how does someone manually adjust gas pricing? And can they go with low gas instead of fast gas?
When you want to do a transaction, when you want to perform a transaction in MetaMask, for example, when you click on do the transaction, swap, or provide liquidity, or whatever it is, in the MetaMask pop-up channel, under the edit section, you can change the gas. You can say whether you want it to go faster, slower, or like normal. But if you choose faster, of course, you will have to pay more gas. If you choose in a slower speed, then you wouldn't pay that much gas. But as much as I would like to say that it will go through, sometimes we've had people who have been waiting for days for the transaction to go through because they set it on low and they set it on slow. So it's a matter of preference. If you want it to go faster, you will pay more gas. A low part also works as well.
Yeah, I need instant gratification. I don't know if I can wait days.
I have never put my gas price on low. There's no way. I want it to be done under 45 seconds.
Right. So, you actually just meant what is a gas limit?
Gas limit is actually the maximum number of units of gas that you want to pay for a transaction. So it's actually in terms of GUI or GWay, however they say it. So it's not a matter of dollars, but it's in matter of that. Normally it just goes through, but sometimes when you're doing a transaction, it says you ran out of gas and then gives you an error and then you lose gas. You lose gas money. So in order for that thing doesn't happen, you will have to adjust that as well. Under the section that you choose how fast you want your gas to be, you can change the gas limit as well. Usually, if you add a little more numbers, would just be fine. It doesn't have to be that high.
Okay. So let's do a hypothetical situation really quickly. Let's say that you have a transaction that is stuck on MetaMask. How do you revoke a stuck transaction?
When you want to do a transaction, you see that it's not going through. Usually on MetaMask, you can see in the activity section that you can speed it up or cancel it manually. Or if you speed it up, that means you're adding gas to it, you're paying a little more and then it goes through, or you can just cancel it. But there are some times that you don't see these buttons. You just see it says pending. For that to happen, you will have to go to advanced setting in your MetaMask and then choose and then see whether customized transaction nonce is turned on. Then you go back and send yourself 0 Ethereum with higher gas limit and higher gas speed with the same nonce that you see in Etherscan. If you do that, then MetaMask will revoke the other transaction and then you can just start doing other transactions. This is the way that you can cancel it.
Really good tip. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, no worries. I will try to make a video for this, but I haven't had this issue like forever. So I need to actually face this problem so I can record it.
What is token allowance and why is it important?
Token allowance is actually pretty important. When people want to swap two tokens that are not Ethereum, for example, you want to swap USDC for some Illuvium, okay? When you want to swap it, before the swap, the pool will ask you to approve that token. When you want to approve it, you are going to give permission to that pool to have access to your wallet and your tokens to use them to swap them to each other. If you give that pool unlimited access, that means that pool will have unlimited access to your tokens. So if you have $5,000 but you want to swap $2,000, since you have given the pool unlimited access, it has also access to the other $3,000. So in case of a hack, whether you're using a hot wallet or a cold wallet, you have literally given the pool the permission to use your wallet. So you will lose your $3,000 as well, as easy as that. But if you don't want to lose it, you can just edit that permission before approving it in the same like MetaMask pop-up channel. So you go there, you just type the number, the price that you want to pay. For example, you have $5,000. You say, I want to give just $2,000 to this pool. That's it, not the other 3,000. Then you will confirm it, and then you will do the swap. So this is called token allowance, really, and it's very important because if you're not careful with what platforms you're interacting, then you are literally giving access to that pool, and if something happens, you will be losing your own funds as well. Whether using a hot wallet or a cold wallet, doesn't matter really. You're not safe.
That is definitely terrifying, and everybody should check that.
You can definitely check it when you go to Etherscan website under the section token allowance or token approvals, which is actually in beta section. You can go there, and when gas is low, you can revoke it yourself. If you're not happy with the permission, you can revoke the permission. So it's good that people do it regularly rather than just letting it ride.
Our next question is actually something that has been coming up in general chat over the last couple of days. How do you set up a ledger? And should someone start with a device or Ledger Live first?
It really doesn't matter whether you want to use Ledger Live or the device first. I myself, when I want to set up a ledger, I just start with the device. So I just connect it to the computer and just go through the steps one by one. So you really don't have to do it with Ledger Live first or without it. But you need Ledger Live, of course, because you have to add an account to your Ledger device. So when you just go through the steps, which is actually pretty simple, like both the device and Ledger Live will tell you how to do it, how to set up your device. After you do that, you will have to just go to the account section and just make an account. For example, you want to add an Ethereum account, you add it there, and then you go to the manage device, then you just add the applications. As easy as that. So yeah, it's actually pretty simple. We have a video that comes later with the university that explains how you can just set up a ledger. I have just unboxed it. From the unboxing to the finish line, I have just recorded it. So no worries, we've got you covered.
Our next question is, can someone keep tokens on a ledger or buy tokens on a ledger?
Well, Ledger and Ledger Live are two different things. The Ledger itself, the device, is just like a key to your house, as I explained before. So it doesn't hold anything rather than the applications, for example, Ethereum application or Polygon application. That's it. It doesn't hold any tokens at all. Your MetaMask is the one that holds the tokens, and you can just store millions of tokens in your MetaMask and without having to worry about the storage. But Ledger Live, on the other hand, is an application, is like a wallet. So Ledger Live itself supports many tokens. So you can just buy tokens directly from it because it has a buy section, or you can just send tokens from a wallet to your Ledger Live because it has an address. So you can just send it and it will keep it for you, which actually interacts with your Ledger device as well. If you want to send tokens out or do some transactions, you will have to confirm it physically on your device.
Can you set up a second ledger?
Yeah, you can set up 100 ledgers if you want, if you can keep the backup. I mean, it's under the account name. I mean, when you open Ledger Live, you see the account section. So you can go and add as many accounts as you want with different ledgers. So you have one ledger with account one, second ledger with account two, then you can just go on and add as many as you want. But I mean, that the question is, do you really want that many ledgers? Because like if there are too many of them, you would mistake them for each other. You will have to put them somewhere, right? Because they're physical devices. You can just have like one for your savings. You can have one for your normal swaps, daily swaps. You can have one for your different token stakings and everything. This is your choice, but yeah, definitely you can use as many ledgers as you want with the same account.
What is the difference between Ledger X and Ledger S? And which one is better for PC or mobile?
Well, Ledger X is better for mobile because it comes with Bluetooth, but it only works with Ledger Live on mobile, not with other platforms. So if you have Ledger Live on your phone, you can use Ledger X with it. But Ledger S is smaller and has very small capacity. The storage of it is actually very small. But for someone who doesn't do a lot of transactions, who only does transactions on Ethereum mainnet, or for example on Polygon only, Ledger S just does the job perfectly, and it's just perfect with computer. You don't need a Ledger X to just because it's just beautiful and it has Bluetooth. I have both, and I use the Ledger X very rarely. Ledger S is just the one that I use regularly.
Ledger S is the way to go.
It's cheaper.
And how do you go about managing Ledger's internal storage?
There's a section on the Ledger Live under the name of management. You can go there and add applications. Well, apparently Ledger X has bigger storage, so you can just add many more applications, but Ledger S has smaller ones. So for example, if you add Ethereum application, it will take half of it. But if you're a person who does only on Ethereum, that's enough for you. If you want to do transactions on Solana, on Polygon, on Ethereum, on many other platforms, then you will need Ledger X for that.
Nice. And we just got in the chat that the Nano S Plus is coming out, which is a happy medium between the X and the S because it has more storage and a bigger screen than the S, but no Bluetooth like the X.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, still, I would prefer S. Like the rest of it is just marketing to me. Like, do you need Bluetooth really? Or, for example, a bigger screen? I don't want it, to be honest. I just need something to see the transaction and just confirm it physically. That's it, really.
Moonshot actually had a really good question here. Can a ledger be hacked via Bluetooth if it's enabled?
No, because you have to physically confirm it on your device when you want to make a transaction. And Ledger really, cold wallets do not make your seed online. It's always offline. Unless you lose a device, which I said in the previous FAQ Friday, that hackers, if they are very good at it, they can just do some things to your IC and then just get your seed phrase out. But no, the Bluetooth is not going to work for anything else rather than the Ledger Live you have set up on your mobile.
So how do you set up a ledger with MetaMask?
Any cold wallets can be added to MetaMask. When you open MetaMask and then when you click on the round colorful ball on the top right of the page, you can see that there is a section that's called Connect Cold Wallet or Connect Hardware Storage or Hardware Wallet. You click on it. If it's a Ledger, you click on Ledger. If it's a Trezor, you click on Trezor and then just set it up. Follow the steps. It will just tell you what to do and then just confirm it. And there you go.
Perfect. My last question for you is a hypothetical situation. If somebody can't connect their wallet to websites on a certain browser, like when they click it, nothing happens, what should they do?
We've had this issue many times, even in Illuvium these days. People need to make sure that their browsers are up to date, their wallets are updated, and the cache is actually cleared. If things don't work, then they will have to change their browser. That's the last resort, really. But to do so, they will need their seed phrases because they need to import the wallet. But yeah, usually like updating the browser is the issue. Or for example, the blind transaction on the ledger might be off, so they have to turn it on. Otherwise, it's just the same, really.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that. And I am going to pass it over to Jeff now. Your first question is, how can I sell or buy NFTs on OpenSea?
So OpenSea is just an NFT exchange, essentially. It's fairly user-friendly when it works, but essentially you just go to the website or the collection that you're interested in, which would be a link on OpenSea. And then, of course, there you've got to kind of make sure it's the verified collection. Connect your wallet and then just use their interface. But as for like the actual selling and buying, there's different methods. So to buy NFTs, you could be looking at an NFT that's on auction. You could put your bid there. You could be looking at an NFT that just has a flat sale price. You could then just buy it, depending on what the essentially the seller has determined what they want to sell for. So ETH or USDC or something. And you just buy it flat out. Or you can use wrapped ETH or USDC or some other tokens to place a bid on an NFT. So if someone's not selling something, you could place a bid that you think that maybe they'd accept and kind of buy NFTs that way.
What are the different ways of selling NFTs on OpenSea?
There's, I believe, from memory, there's an auction. You can set a decreasing price over time. So you can say, I want to sell this NFT for 100 ETH, and then over a week, and then say your end price is 50 ETH. So you're hoping that someone will kind of snatch it up in between. You just set a flat price and you set a time. You can accept bids on your NFTs, and you can also do private sales on OpenSea where you can offer a specific wallet address, a specific price. This is the safest way to trade if you know that someone is looking to buy an NFT for some special price. Don't use any third-party websites here or any bullshit in DMs. Just use OpenSea. The only time you wouldn't use OpenSea when you're trying to sell something is when you want a direct trade, like another NFT for another NFT. And I'm not going to say a guess here because I could get some people into scammy trouble, but there are some trusted websites for escrowed one-to-one sales.
This is not financial advice.
Just consult an expert if you feel like you're compelled to trade an NFT for another NFT, essentially.
There you go. Jeff is the expert too. Bother him with all of your questions. We're going to switch gears a little bit. What is L2 or layer 2 in the crypto space?
A layer 2 is essentially a solution that lays on top of a layer 1. So just to make this easier, we'll just use ETH, right? So Ethereum mainnet is a layer 1. It is essentially where the transactions are finally settled. A layer 2 is built on top of that. With Ethereum, what they do is essentially they batch transactions within the layer 2. So say they group 100 people's transactions up into one transaction to be sent over to Ethereum mainnet. And then what mainnet does is says, yep, this looks right. And then essentially those 100 transactions are validated as one. So the effect of a layer 2 is to scale ETH in that now ETH can do more transactions for cheaper. Yeah, I think that's pretty solid. We probably want to do like a layer 2 FAQ Friday though, because layer 2s are a very deep subject.
Okay, we are going to have an entire FAQ Friday on layer 2.
I don't know if I've just volunteered myself.
You did. You are going to host the entire thing now. That's fantastic. We're still going to go a little bit more in depth here. Why are layer 2 transactions cheaper?
Essentially due to the roll up there. When the batch transaction, so the one with all the transactions in it that gets sent to mainnet, the cost of that transaction is just split between all the people who made the transaction on layer 2. You're all sharing the bill.
Somebody just asked, is ETH 2.0 different from L2?
Yes. ETH 2.0 is a reference to the upgrade of ETH that will be starting this summer, I believe, with the move from proof of work to proof of stake. And then there are additional changes over time, like data sharding. Essentially, layer 2s are kind of they exist to increase the efficiency of the ETH network in terms of lower gas and more transactions. But ETH 2.0 also has these goals in mind. Data sharding was essentially copies of the Ethereum chain, will also increase the throughput of the network and reduce gas prices. But data sharding likely won't happen for, I'd say, years probably.
Yeah. So are there NFTs on layer 2?
Yes, there's definitely a very healthy layer 2 NFT market on IMX, I know for sure. Polygon also has NFTs, but I wouldn't consider Polygon a layer 2, more of a side chain, which is effectively you can bridge back and forth with ETH, but it's like on the side and it has its own validation method and things like that within it.
Alrighty. So this is a really good question for a lot of people that are just starting out. Why do I have to pay an approval fee when I want to swap tokens?
The approval fee is the transaction to specifically allow a swap contract to use the specific token that you're spending. So if you want to sell your ETH for USDC, you need to give the contract permission to use your ETH. And during that transaction, you can even set a limit to specifically how much you would let the contract spend for you if you're extra paranoid, which you should be.
As you should be. I respect that. And why does someone have to pay a gas fee for each transaction?
So gas fees exist because there is a demand to use the ETH network that is higher than the supply of basically room for your data to be transacted on each block. So gas, in the sense, is a bid for your transaction to be put into that block to be processed. So when a ton of people are trying to use the network, there's only a limited amount of space for your transactions. So only the highest gas gets processed. And I do remember a time long ago where you could get away with putting gas at like 0.01 just because blocks were not processed like totally full.
Those were the days.
Yes, strange times.
So Maxim asks, is there any risk with stablecoin and who actually controls the stablecoins?
That is a much more complicated answer than it seems because there are many stablecoins. Some are very centralized, like USDC, where essentially it is collateralized through a third party with real world assets. And then you assume trust with that institution in that a dollar is a dollar. Others are collateralized with assets on the chain, like DAI is, but they also use USDC as collateral. So they kind of still also have that real world connection as well. And then there's Tether, which is like a whole conversation on its own. But there are many stablecoins, and each one has a different method for being worth $1.
Thank you for answering that. We are going to move on to what is BTC or Bitcoin?
The explain it like you're five answer for what is Bitcoin is essentially it's just a record of people or wallets in this case and the amount of money they have or Bitcoin balance that everyone can see. And anyone can subtract their own balance and add it to anyone else's. That's effectively all Bitcoin is.
So, what would you say the purpose of Bitcoin is at this point in time?
Well, it's still the same as it was before, which is just a way to securely send money over the internet with a very specific emphasis on removing the financial middleman, right? You don't need a bank to send you money. I can securely send you an amount of Bitcoin for whatever reason, and I know that it's a secure transaction and it's public, and anyone on the entire chain can see it.
Would you say that everything is tied to Bitcoin in a way?
So this is not strictly true because effectively the reason why crypto is so affected by Bitcoin is the first mover advantage and also because of the significant market share it still has. I think even today, Bitcoin is 42% of the market cap of all of crypto. So it is still on its own a huge portion of the crypto market. It's the most commonly known phrase from crypto, right? You have your grandparents know what Bitcoin is at this point. But in addition to that, it's really the abundance of pairs on exchanges that are paired to Bitcoin. So like the ETH Bitcoin pair, the USDC Bitcoin pair. Everything has a Bitcoin pair. And so when Bitcoin is going down, a lot of trading happens and arbitrage happens across all of crypto by people, bots, etc. So the movement of Bitcoin has an effect across the entire space every time it moves.
Awesome. And your last question. So, why are transactions cheaper with Binance?
Binance is a centralized exchange, so your transactions are actually just on a database on a server. It's not connected to a blockchain. It's the same with FTX, Gemini, Coinbase, all the other centralized exchanges. So any of the fees that you're paying them to move things around on their platform are just service fees. It doesn't cost 0.01% to move your ETH from one part of their platform to another. They just charge that for the convenience of using their platform, essentially.
Perfect. That was my last question for you. Let's hop over to hot sauce. So, we're actually going to transition from Jeff's response into our next question. How does someone send tokens from a wallet to a centralized exchange?
So most sending functions are relatively the same on all of your apps and whatnot, and you aren't really sending them to the exchange like you are, but you're sending them, as you said, to the database within that exchange with its own address. So first, you'll want to copy the address of the wallet that you are sending the tokens to. Next, you will need to enter the type of token that you're sending when you get back to what you're sending, whether it's an ERC or Ethereum-based token or other, as well as the amount of tokens you want to send. You'll need to have enough Ethereum or whatever native chain token is required to pay the gas fees. And once you've confirmed the potential charges for the transaction or the cap on gas you will spend relative to the current rate, your transaction should be submitted. So you can immediately check this on Etherscan or within your wallet interface. It's always wise to check twice the address that you're sending it to, the amount, all of these things before you actually click on confirm. Um, Check twice and send once. Mistakes can be permanent. So these transactions are trustless and done through contract. There's no plea to have your funds reimbursed or anything like that. So be careful. Make sure you have a clear understanding and have clearly inspected what you're doing before you do send.
And how can someone exchange tokens to cash?
Some exchanges offer this and some don't. So before using an exchange, you should always do your own research and look into what people have experienced with an exchange. Understand the liquidity that the exchange holds for a token that you have, and ensure you have the correct link because of different lookalike sites, all of that. Make sure that the exchange is approved in your country. You are responsible for your assets and you alone. So they can be frozen in an exchange if you violate the terms of service and policies. And this is not your local bank and has a completely different perspective on finances. So they're not just going to waive your fees or whatever. This is a bit different of a ball game. But when you create a wallet or a password on an exchange, be secure in your methods. Watch some YouTube videos on what different security measures to take and understand the risks of making trades using centralized and decentralized exchanges, as well as participating in ICOs and IDOs, just because of the laws on those. But back to the question at hand. Sorry. Take Coinbase, for example. If you had 2 ETH and you wanted to convert that into fiat, you would just need to choose to sell your crypto for cash. You choose ETH as the currency to exchange for USD. Once that transaction has been completed, you can withdraw your USD, and even though it says it's confirmed, it will still require the blockchain to go through all of its confirmations. So it may take a few minutes for that to actually take place. And from there, you can just withdraw your USD to your bank account, linked to your Coinbase wallet, or possibly a debit card. So most exchanges that allow you to withdraw to your bank account will require KYC. So be diligent in where you put your information. I honestly love the freedom of being of crypto and being able to really do with my assets as I please. And I've always found a withdrawal to fiat to be really convenient and faster than you could ever expect a wire transfer or bank to bank transfer to happen. But that's just my experience.
Awesome. That was a good answer. So, how can someone withdraw cryptocurrency into their bank account?
Like I said, on Coinbase, I have limited experience with most exchanges. I try to limit how many exchanges I deal with, but just with Coinbase, it's just a feature, an option on there to add or withdraw funds, and you just click on the withdraw function, and it'll ask you if you want to send it to your bank account, and it'll say it'll take an X amount of time to confirm, enter the amount that you want to withdraw, and there you go. Pretty simple. Not much to it.
Easy peasy. So, can someone use cryptocurrency as a means of payment for anything?
Maybe not anything, but maybe. I don't know. There are many ways to use crypto as a payment. I recently used some crypto to pay for Airbnb. That's just my personal, but there are crypto debit cards such as crypto.com and BlockFi card. And I'm not going to argue or debate about the perks or which one is better or anything like that. I have pretty strong feelings about some of these projects and implore people to really dig into who is behind these companies and what's going on. PayPal has crypto features, but they're kind of like limited and isolated to PayPal. So just like really be diligent about what apps you're using and how they like the rules they set on them. Um, but plenty of sites have options for paying with crypto, and some of these sites often only accept very limited or specific tokens, such as Bitcoin or Ethereum. But there's also apps like Shopping.io that allow you to interface with Amazon or a bunch of other big name distributors and make purchases using crypto. So we should really expect to see this heavily adopted over the next couple of years to the point where crypto becomes interoperable with fiat, but we aren't 100% there yet.
Very nice. And can someone buy tokens with a credit card?
Yes, you definitely can, but you'll really want to check the fees associated with this. So some credit card companies like American Express don't allow crypto purchases at all, while others are more flexible. But there will be more restrictions on this than using your bank. And either way, I can assure you that there may be some heavy fees associated with either. I remember getting a bank statement about a charge for an international purchase, and it was not nice. I couldn't imagine paying that much, and had no clue going into it. But now I know. But I advise against putting this on a credit card or buying it with a credit card. I'm not here, nor am I qualified to give financial advice. But I would say that you might want to really consider having an interest rate on an investment whose future is unstable. Really consider that before making that purchase.
Yeah, I don't know if I would ever do that, but it's an option for people that want to try it.
Yeah, I'm not. I would not do that.
We covered this in a previous AMA, but I did want to bring it up one more time. Can you explain the difference between a centralized and a decentralized exchange?
Yeah, absolutely. A centralized exchange is a third-party entity that handles transactions on your behalf and becomes the custodian of your funds through that. So when you keep your funds on a centralized exchange, they are held in their hot wallet that is owned by that exchange. It's not your keys, not your crypto. So most experienced crypto traders and holders will send their crypto to a cold wallet, like a ledger, and only utilize centralized exchanges if they offer exactly what that person is looking for. A decentralized exchange, however, works as like a peer-to-peer system where you are in control of what happens with your crypto. So I wouldn't say that you need to possess any major skills or experience in using either type of exchange. They all just require a bit of due diligence and learning about what it is that you are actually doing. Um, always be specific in your use of any exchange or any application. Um, don't get into a rush to catch something. If you have to like bridge to a different chain, really try to learn about bridging. I'm not going to go into that, but
Are we going to have a whole FAQ Friday about bridging?
it's such a complex thing to a lot of people, and I've found a few solutions that I really enjoy. But I can assure you, the first time that I tried to bridge to Matic, however long ago, I was like 3 hours in, and I was just like frustrated, and
Wasn't worth it.
I quit. I gave up on that. I ended up letting that opportunity pass. It was not worth it whatsoever. But yeah, a decentralized exchange, you are in control, whereas a centralized exchange, you have a central entity that is operating on your behalf.
Awesome. And for new people to the space, what is an ERC-20 token?
So ERC stands for Ethereum Request for Comment, and it was the 20th proposal that is the most widely used for token creation on the Ethereum chain. You are basically defining the parameters of the token that you are printing onto the blockchain. It is the most widely used and defines the functionality and operability of a token as opposed to exactly what the token is. So you create a non-fungible token on the ERC-20 standard, and that is identifiable to all other ERC-20 standard tokens.
Perfect. And this one's going to be a fun question. What's the difference between an ERC-20, a BEP-20, and a BSC?
So BEP-20 is the Binance Smart Chain equivalent of the ERC-20 standard, but for the Binance Smart Chain, or BSC. So you have two token standards that are fairly identical for two different blockchains. Games that run on the Ethereum chain will cause you to cater to the ERC-20 standard, whereas if you play games built on the Binance Smart Chain, then you have to bridge some USDC over to BUSD, possibly, depending on what exchanges you use, or you can just directly buy it with fiat on like Binance. And we can cover bridging in another episode, but over time you will all become familiar to like what's being built on an entire blockchain, and it's a massive undertaking that will take years and years. So I'm going to sound like a drone, but make sure you do your own research and look into what possible security options are out there and get to know wallets before you trust them. The space takes a lot of time to take it all in. Be on a quest and not in a rush.
Awesome. And this is another question to help out new people to the space. Is trading and or staking crypto taxable?
The short answer, yes. Every country has different laws regarding taxation, and while you don't have to be a crypto genius and know tax code, you should really try to understand at least some of the basics because it might completely change the mentality that you have or your strategy or what seems like a really good play. Know some of like you're actually liable for and how it works. Um, before you make too many decisions in the crypto space.
Awesome. And our very last question that's written down before we take any questions from our channel is, what does oversold or overbought mean?
So the term oversold refers to a market that has been trading at lower than its true value. This can happen for a long period of time, but it's the implication that there might be a price boost in the near future. This is done either through market indicators or by speculation by analysts, but does not always imply a price jump in the near future. So there are factors to consider, but it's best to get to a point where you feel comfortable making a judgment that a market is oversold in your eyes. Like, get to really understand the value of projects relative to their competition, with what products they have to create revenue, and then you'll get to better understand like what that product or company or project is actually worth, and whether you think that it is a really good buy because they should be worth more. An overbought product is talking about a token that has been trading higher than its fair market value and means that in the short term, you should see a correction. This is not always the case, and again, these assumptions are made by professionals in the marketplace for speculation. It took me a very long time to be comfortable with how I understood the valuation of a token. And it's easy to know that the fully diluted value of a token is the price times the max supply. But to know what the number actually means relative to the business of that ecosystem the token is used in is a completely different story. So I'll finish this with a terrible anecdote. I was fortunate to start my electrical apprenticeship under a wise electrical wizard. He looked like Merlin from the cartoon version of Sword in the Stone, if you guys ever have seen that movie. But day one, he tells me a trusting electrician is a dead electrician, meaning that if I put my faith in him, that he turned off a breaker for me before going to work on some equipment, I'm basically putting my life into his hands. So you really shouldn't trust anybody but yourself, and you really need to do your research, listen to more AMAs, watch YouTube videos, do all of these things to prepare yourself. It's both amazing and treacherous in the crypto space, but if you take the time to do your own due diligence and avoid clicking on things that you didn't set to get out in the first place, realize that no one is sending you 2 ETH after you send them 1 ETH. I don't think anyone succeeded in that one.
Absolutely. And just an overarching statement, nothing that we are saying on this AMA is financial advice. And no matter what, you should contact a tax advisor specialized in crypto for your own country, do your own research. So we're going to go back and answer a question from Nico, and this can be for any of you. What do you guys think of P2P trading? And the example is like on Binance, where you can buy ETH or Bitcoin from another person and send the money directly.
So my experience with like peer-to-peer trading happened to be in the game Nine Chronicles, and basically you would have to find like a middleman. This is a completely different scenario, but when a token is not listed on an exchange, there is coded ways or contractual ways that you can still send these tokens. So, people find ways around, um, the norm, so to speak. So, um, you really have to uh, just know that what you're doing is right. So there's a whole lot less risk if you do all of your research first, and something may go right correctly 100% of the time, and then one time it doesn't. And it, like you can't say that there's not a possibility for a scam in peer-to-peer versus this or that, because the potential is always there, but they typically wouldn't put things out there that were more dangerous than not.
Oh, that's perfect. And we will definitely be taking all of our questions from our FAQ Fridays and adding them to our upcoming FAQ page. We will have blog posts. Like, we are going to give you guys all of this information in every format possible so that you can have it at the tip of your fingers.
Yep. Thank you, Bria.
Cool. Thanks, y'all.
Awesome. Wonderful, guys.